Hello everyone and welcome to this tutorial. Today we'll be building a villager breeder that works in the Minecraft 1.8 snapshots. The way this breeder works is that it makes the breeder villagers willing by dispensing food items to them. As long as you keep the food supply going, this breeder will breed villagers at a very fast rate. Alright, so let's build this thing. But first... got him. Alright, so this chest contains all the items that you'll need, including the chest itself. I'll also put the list of items in the description below. I've just run the mouse over so you can see what they are. Now I also need to point out that you can't build this within 64 blocks of another wooden door. And it also doesn't work if you have mobGriefing set to false. Now you're free to use whatever building blocks you like for this, as long as they're solid blocks when I say solid blocks and transparent when I say transparent. Alright, so the first thing you need to do is pick a spot and then dig a 12 by 9 hole like this. You'll then need to extend the hole down so that it's 4 blocks deep. And just for convenience, I've added a set of steps in the corner. Right, so the next thing you want to do is determine which side you want to collect the villagers from. Your choice is between the two ends of the rectangular hole and not the sides. I want to collect them from this side, so I'll start counting from this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then in 1. Here you want to place a dropper facing up. And on top of that you want to place the dispenser facing away from the wall. And from there we'll place 2 hoppers going into that bottom dropper and another one into the side like this. Next you want to jump up and place 3 more hoppers down into that one. And you should be at ground level. Just going to fill this in. Okay, next you want to move the edge in line with these hoppers and dig down 4 blocks so they're level with the bottom of your hole. Right, so the next thing we need to do is place a comparator facing away from the dropper like that into a solid block. And then place a repeater facing away from that block and another one facing the opposite direction there. And place another solid block followed by another one and a redstone torch on top of that block, redstone dust there, and then join those up with redstone dust. Next we need a repeater facing into that block on 2 ticks, and then place a solid block on top of that repeater, and then place a torch on that solid block and some redstone dust just there. Now to test the system, place any item into this dropper, which will hopefully start the system going and see the items getting dispensed out and hopefully fed back through these hoppers and recycled basically. So you stand up there to get your items back and they will stop. Next, place a downward facing sticky piston on the second block down and then a redstone block directly underneath it. And back around the top you want to place another solid block on top of there, just there, and you want to put your lever on top of that. Now that's your on-off switch for the whole system. Now you should see that by placing blocks into the dropper, nothing happens. Like that. But if we flick this switch, the item should start dispensing again. For now we want to leave it off. And make sure you take everything out of this dropper. So far it should look a bit like this. Next thing we want to do is place 2 solid blocks, 1 block away from the hoppers like that. And on top of those blocks we want to put 2 sticky pistons facing in towards the hoppers. And then on those sticky pistons we're going to place 2 blocks of glass. Now you just need to fill in under there with any block you like. Next, place a couple of blocks just there. Now we need to place a couple of blocks 2 blocks away from the hoppers on the other side. Just like that. And then on top of them, more sticky pistons facing in. Like this and that. And then glass on top on both of those. Next we need to dig a trench right next to the hoppers. And then dig underneath that block there which has the sticky piston on top of it. And continue the trench from the other side and then dig straight to the wall like that. Next we need 2 solid blocks behind the sticky pistons like that and underneath as well. and then 2 more coming out like that, and place a redstone torch on there and redstone dust up to the backs of the sticky pistons. And now you want to do a similar thing on the other side. A couple of blocks there, solid blocks, get rid of that one. Put a couple underneath, and just 1 coming out this time, and put dust on all those blocks, like that, and 1 down the floor there. And now you grab a repeater, put it facing into that block there and into the dust there, and then connect those 2 repeaters up with dust. Next you want to place 2 hoppers facing into each other, right in between the 2 repeaters you just placed, and 1 square away, just there. So place one like that, place the other one into it like that, destroy the first one, and then replace it facing into the other one, like that. Next, place a comparator coming out of each of the hoppers like so, or both of them going into solid blocks, like that and that. Then grab your 2 remaining sticky pistons and place them next to the comparators, facing towards the hoppers, like that, and the other one facing that way as well. Then in between them, on any of those blocks, put the redstone block. Next, place some redstone dust behind both of the sticky pistons, and then place redstone torches on the ends of those blocks, like that. Now, from all that dirt you collected earlier, place a couple of stacks into any of the hoppers, and that should start this system going. Just eat some bread. Now, dig a trench from this redstone torch to the one on the other side. And then fill that trench with redstone dust. There. Now you want to grab some solid blocks and place them on top of the redstone dust, like that, there, there, and there. Leave that one out, and then the rest of them like that. Now if you're going to be filling this hole in like I will be, I would suggest putting a transparent block there. That'll greatly help you when it comes to filling this whole area in. And also one on top of that block there, and also on this side on top of that one and that one. Next we need an L shape of any block you like there, just to close that in a bit. And while we're here, place a sign at the end of your trench there, the one that meets the wall, and then come back to here with a bucket of water and place it just there at the very beginning there. And now just close this whole area off. Now I'm going to cap this area off with glass, just simply so I can see it from the top. And now we can begin the fun task of filling the hole in. Now when you get to this area here at the end of your trench, I like to use glass so I can see it from above, so you just go around it like this. This is where your villagers will emerge from. And then right here we need to put a single bucket of water, like that. Now, put some more glass on top like that, and another source bucket of water. It has to be 2 source buckets, otherwise the adult villagers will drown on the way up. And we're back to backfilling again. Now it's a good idea to have access to this dropper until the very end, so I'd leave a little staircase there, and sheep. Yeah, so leave that access there until the very end. Now this time when we build this up one more block, instead of putting a water bucket we'll end up putting another sign. This gives the adult villagers a breathing gap on the way up. Now we can keep filling again. Right, this spot here, that's where the breeder villagers will stand, right on top of those hoppers. And this block here, I like to put a glowstone there just to keep them in the light. And basically here all the way up, I like to just cover in glass. Now this would be a good time to get 2 villagers into the breeding bay, and only 2. You don't want any more than that, otherwise it'll mess up your system. So yeah, and also place these blocks of glass here. And back over here again, we want to put another layer on top of that, and put a bucket of water just there. Once your villagers are in, close off the top to keep them safe. Then come over to this spot here with some dirt and jump up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now hold down shift so they don't fall off, and place 2 solid blocks just like that. And then extend this platform out each side to make a total size of 6, 3 by 2. Next, get your doors and place them all facing this way, just on top of those 6 blocks you just put down. Next, place a solid block on top of that scaffold you built before, and another one there, and then just continue that all the way around. Remember to hold down shift so you don't fall off. And then still holding down shift, place a block on top of the doors like this. Keep going till you've covered all of them. Although for now I've left out the middle one because that's where I'll get my villager in later with the minecart. And then just extend this area out by another 3, so an extra 6 blocks added on to the end. Then just clean up your scaffolding a bit, and then get your villager up here. Now I had to remove a couple of blocks and a door to get this villager in, but just make sure once you get him in you replace those blocks, and whoops, try not to hurt your villagers. And when you put the door back in, make sure it's facing the same direction as all the others, like that. Once you've got this villager in, just place a couple of torches around to make sure nothing else spawns up here, because we don't want this guy dying, so it'll be a bit of a pain to bring him back again. And don't forget to check up the top as well, because there might be a few spots there where something can spawn. You can check by pushing F3 and it will tell you the light levels in the particular block. As we can see, this one has 7, so that's where we need to place another torch. Right, so the next thing we need to do is go down to your dropper and just make sure it's completely empty. And then we can fill this area in finally. Next you want to empty out your chest. And then pick it up. And then you want to shift click it on top of the top hopper there. This chest is where you place all your food items that will then go down the hopper system, fired out through the dispenser and straight at the 2 villagers there. From here, the rest of the tutorial is optional. It depends on how you want to collect your villagers at the end. I like to get them moved into a holding cell so that they're much easier to transport later on. So I'll add another layer of glass on top of there. And place another water bucket. Now it's a good idea to place a sign after every 2 squares of water so that your villagers won't drown on the way up. So I'll put another source there. And then build this layer up one more time. And place another sign there. Okay, the next layer is a little different. We'll start by placing a block right there. And then on the back of that block we'll place another one and extend that across. And then we'll put another one there and do the other side to there. Put one there, and not there, and finish that off like that. So we've got a little channel going. And then from the ground we'll build it up to the current height there, and we'll place a sign on that block there. Next you want to place a bucket of water in that spot there. This will push the villagers away from that initial water elevator there. Right, so next we want to cap this area off so that the villagers can't escape. We go 2 blocks high, and then place another one on top for a roof. And then just continue closing that in. And then just bring this side down to ground level. And then just cap the end off so they can't escape. You can pick any side of this end area here for the villagers to be moved out from. So I'll pick this side right here for obvious reasons. And here you can place your minecart tracks, or if you wanted to use water to transport them, you can do that too. And yeah, it makes it easier for when you actually want to move the villagers out. Right, last thing I'll do is just put a sign here next to the switch to say which way is on and which way is off. So it's currently off, so I'll put an arrow pointing to the off position and then an arrow pointing to the on position. Right, once you've done that, it's time to start filling the chest up with food. Now, to have enough food for this farm, I would highly recommend having a very large wheat or carrot farm. I'm using carrots because my wheat farm's not that big at the moment. But if you do use wheat, you'll have to convert it to bread first, which there is a trade-off. You need less bread than carrots to get this thing working. So after replanting all my carrots again, this is how much I have left, which is plenty. Right, so now you've got your food, you can now load it into this chest here. And as I mentioned earlier, you could also use bread if you wanted to. Now we can see our food ticking away like that. The comparator down below shows that there are items in the bottom dropper there. So we can now flick the switch and turn the machine on. You should hear the clicking sound as the items get dispensed to the villagers. Now we just have to wait for a baby villager to be born. Right, after a few minutes you'll see the villagers breeding like this. And now we have a baby villager. And we'll just wait and see how the baby villager gets moved away from its parents. There we go, and now he'll travel down that channel into that little holding area until he grows up to an adult. Okay, approximately 20 minutes later, the baby will grow into an adult and he'll swim to the top like this. And that channel at the top will push him over into the holding cell where he'll wait for further transport. And there you have it, that's the villager breeder finally finished. Right, I'd like to thank Etho for his hopper timer design and Tango Tech for his villager breeder design for previous versions. A lot of the ideas I've used in this video have come from Tango's original villager spawner design. I'll put links to the hopper timer and Tango's village in the description below. Feel free to ask any questions or add any comments you like, and thanks for watching.